I've got you in the palm of my brain.
From the outposts of your dark desires comes Skeletonman, 2004 film starring Michael Rooker and Casper Van Dien. It's a movie about a skeleton warrior who's supposedly an ancient Indian ghost who rides around in the woods on a horse. He has a sword sometimes a spear, sometimes an axe. He rides around in the woodland looking for victims. Anyone who comes into the woodland, he'll chop their head off with a sword, he'll throw a spear at you, sometimes he's got a bow and arrow. There's one point in the film where a helicopter goes past and he shoots it with an arrow, one single wooden arrow, and it makes it explode. That is the power of Skeletonman. Now the story in Skeletonman is very basic. A man goes missing in the woods. So they send in, for some reason, this Delta squad from the army to go and rescue him. So all these soldiers go into the woods to look for him, maybe 10 of them or so. And of course they get killed one by one by this stupid warrior with a skeleton face on a horse. He kind of looks like Skeletor. The only part of him that you can actually see as a skeleton is kind of his face, because he's wearing robes like Skeletor. So he rides around the woods on this horse. No one seems to hear him coming up behind them. Sometimes the character will be on the screen, they'll be looking around, and the viewer will see the horse coming up behind them, galloping up behind them. They won't hear anything, they won't hear a thing. Their horse will just come up behind them, and the man will swing around with his sword and chop their head off, but they wouldn't have heard it come in. It's very weird, even though us, the viewers, can hear the horse come in. It's a little bit rubbish in that way. And also the horse and the skeleton man seem to just sort of pop into view. It's this sort of rubbish CGI effect. It's kind of like a warp effect on the screen. Looks incredibly cheap, but it'll show you some woodland with no skeleton man, and then suddenly, whoom, and there's the skeleton man. So this film has good bits and bad bits. Overall, I think it's a good idea for a film. It's not often you get a skeleton that's kind of the main baddie in the film. You know, you get your ghosts and your normal killers with knives and stuff. This one's a good idea having a skeleton as a killer, but as a film overall, I'd recommend it a bit, so I'll give it 1 out of 2. And I've seen a burgeoning amount of horror films. I've seen 18, there was, I saw that one, I've seen 20 or so horror films, I reckon, and I'll give this 1 out of 2. It's not a particularly good film. At the end of the film, it kind of leaves it open for a sequel. It's probably best that they didn't do that, because that would have been worse, I reckon. Watch it if you want, but otherwise, if you don't watch it, you're probably missing nothing, really. Nah, do you know what I mean? Bye!